Jaden, I picked Lee first last time. I'm going to pick on you as well because you're one of my more returning students.
Do you want me to just introduce myself?
Yeah, introduce yourself. You can talk about where you're from and then your current route.
Okay, I'm Jaden Cook. This is my 4th year at Lakeland, long time. I'm from Regina, and I guess I was in UT for my first 2 years, and then the last 2 years I've been doing the Athabasca University and Lakeland collab program, so I'm on track to get my psych degree after next year, so I'm in the Bachelor of Arts program. Yeah. And I will probably go to school after, but I've had a really great experience, and it's been really smooth transitioning from UT to this. Kelsey's been a big help, so yeah.
Bryn, do you want to go next? Because you're my other returning student.
Sure. I'm Bryn. I'm here. I live in Lloydminster, and I've always lived in Lloydminster. I'm in my 2nd year of university transfer for elementary education.
Tia, you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Tia. I'm a first-year UT student for the elementary education program. I'm born and raised in Lloydminster.
Perfect. And Evan.
Yeah, hi, I'm Evan. I'm first-year UT. So Lakeland College University transfer is all I've really known. I'm from Vermilion, but I'm living in Lloydminster residence, and that's where I'm joining you from right now.
Awesome. I guess I should double check. My guest doesn't happen to be Levi, correct? You are a prospective student, I'm assuming? Okay, so we're good to go. Okay, so essentially we're going to go through some questions. Why did you choose Lakeland? Does anyone want to start off first?
Mine's easy. I play on the basketball team, so that brought me to Lakeland.
Bryn, you want to go next?
Sure. So I decided to attend Lakeland College because this is my hometown, and I just didn't really feel completely ready to move away straight out of high school. I graduated at 17, and that still seemed pretty young to me. So I was like, Lakeland might be a good transition between high school and a big university setting. Also, my mom was in the university transfer program at Lakeland, so heard lots of good things through that. And yeah, I'm really happy with my decision.
And you were pretty adamant, if I remember, that you were leaving after 1 year, right?
Yes, I was.
But changed your mind. And I mean, definitely circumstances change a little bit as well, but we often, I have a number of students that come in saying, I'm leaving after 1 year, and they often change their mind.
Yeah, for sure.
You want to go next?
Yeah, so I chose Lakeland because I'm also from Lloyd. I actually live a couple blocks away from Lakeland, so it kind of seemed like a fitting choice. And also my program specifically being education, I had a lot of opportunities in my first year to actually like be in classrooms and do a little bit of more hands-on stuff that I couldn't find in other places. So,
Evan, anything to add or?
Oh, pretty similar story. It's close to home. You know, class sizes are a big deal to me, and I've really enjoyed having smaller class sizes. It's really helped. So, yeah.
How is college different from high school?
There's a lot more that you got to do.
So in terms of like outside of classes, you're talking, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyone want to add more?
Research is a lot different than it was in high school. Like I've never used the library before this year.
Okay, so you've never used the library until this year?
But then I became good friends with Mr. Ben Harrison.
Yeah.
He's been pretty helpful.
Yeah. So that's under the commons, right? would be Ben. And so that's all the services. So librarian, if you struggle with studying, if you aren't 100% sure how to read a textbook, if you aren't great time manager, those are all services that are offered free from the Commons. Anything else? Like, how else? What about the time you spend outside of your class doing work? Evan kind of focused on it, but yeah, go ahead, Jaden.
I would just say that like there's less time in school, which is different from high school, but more time that you're actually doing school, if that makes sense. Like you're more time you're reading textbooks or taking to do assignments and stuff like that. And I feel like it's a lot more like on yourself than it is on your like teachers to get on you kind of thing, which is like I feel like a bit of a tough adjustment, but once you figure it out, it's more smooth sailing.
So they do say that for every hour you spend in class, you should be spending at least an hour to sometimes 2 hours outside of class. Would everyone agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, another big thing that I found was different from high school is like I'm a Holy Rosary graduate, and I don't know about other high school how they run, but like we were allowed to rewrite any tests that like we felt like we could have done better on. And there's obviously not that opportunity. So just spending more time studying to make sure you're going to receive the grade that you want to, and even just like strict deadlines. Like if you don't get your stuff in at the right time, then you're getting a penalty or you're getting a 0. So I think that was another big adjustment, just time management.
So it's definitely been obviously a different type of year. But what are some clubs and activities that you've participated in? This might be easier for my returning students than it will be for my new students because there's not a ton of activities happening. Has anyone participated in any of the virtual events that the essays posted or anything like that?
I haven't, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I guess your Instagram competitions though, I've won prizes on there.
Yeah, you might be my, oh no, yeah, I don't think Bryn or Evan are.
In past years, I feel like the residence staff has done a good job of like hosting events like movie nights and stuff like that. Like I don't live on campus, but it was still even open for like people to go, and we're not allowed to like, I don't know, go to things during the week that like or like any of the dances or like parties or stuff like that. But I've always heard like really good things about them.
Evan, did your dorm do the movie night last night?
I had no idea.
You have no idea.
So
residents did host movie night last night for anyone, and so they dropped off treats at the door for anyone that was participating. It was supposed to be a scary movie, but I think essentially if you watched a movie together as a dorm, you were able to participate. So that's something that they are doing. It's definitely a little bit tougher. Obviously, we can't go watch Jaden and the rest of the women's basketball, and all of our volleyball and men's basketball as well, obviously this year. But that was always something that was available. The SA usually posts quite a few different events. They often gave away free food, almost, I'd say once, if not twice a week. Popcorn, all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely just a little bit harder this year, but there is lots of things to kind of participate in that aren't just school. Does anyone have anything else to add into that one? So Evan, and then we can pull on Jaden's past experience, residence life. Any insights into that?
It's pretty quiet this year. I assume it's a little louder most years, but it's been pretty quiet.
And so everyone has their own room, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. There's only in the dorms this year, but generally there can be up to 8. Though generally speaking, I think it usually ended around the 6 or 7 mark.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to walk to class?
Well, I only go on campus for my labs, and it takes probably about 5 minutes or less.
Yeah, so that's kind of the bonus. So you can roll out of bed and get to campus fairly fast.
Yeah.
Anything else to add about residence life, Jaden? Do you have anything from your past?
No, I loved it though. Like, I feel like it was probably a bit more chaotic than what Evan is going through, just because there's not a ton you can do or whatever. But I lived with 4 people, and it's nice having your own space, and like you can lock your door, but it's also nice, like, if you want to watch dinner with your roommates, you can do that too. It's kind of the best of both worlds, I would say. And like you said, walking to class is easy. Same with laundry is really close. Like, if you don't want, you save a lot of money, I feel like, on gas and like stuff like that, just with the convenience.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, again, parking obviously isn't a big deal right now if you're driving back and forth. Bryn can probably talk a little bit more on that one if you're driving. So the parking lot could get quite full, correct?
Yeah, the parking lot can get quite full. I ended up purchasing the spot where you have your own spot every day just to like ensure that I had a parking spot. But like I live like 2 minutes from the college, and if I came like 2 minutes before class, I had to park almost just as far away from my house. So I'm like, I might as well be walking to school. So like,
yeah, I heard that from quite a few. Yeah, so it is definitely. Again, this year's a little bit different, but generally speaking, the nice thing about campus is you're not always fighting for parking. You might be fighting in the residence parking, I guess, maybe a little bit more, but you're not parking for a close spot to the college or anything like that. What about the biggest piece of advice you'd give to a first-time college or university student?
Don't get behind.
I would say that a lot of like the attitude is kind of like, oh, now you can choose like to skip class or when to go or whatever. And I feel like lots of people fall into like that, which isn't a bad thing. I feel like everyone goes through that, but I definitely think like it matters. Like teachers notice that kind of thing. Like you do learn stuff in class that you can't necessarily just get from the slides or the textbook. Like I feel like go to class. Like it's a good idea.
Bryn, Tia, any insight?
What I was just gonna say is, yeah, like stay on top of your homework and assignments, because things can pile up really quickly, and then you oftentimes get overwhelmed. And then the other thing I was gonna say is get to know your instructors. Like it is such a small institution, and your instructors really do care about you. So like take the time to go introduce yourself, like get the extra help if you need it, like all that stuff. It really makes a big difference.
Anything to add, Tia, or?
I would say make a schedule of your day, because I've found, especially with everything being online, I'm sitting at my desk for like 12 hours a day, and it was really unhealthy for me to be doing that. So what I started doing is I would like make a schedule or a checklist of all the things that I wanted to get done that day. And as soon as I was done that checklist, I would just stop, because it's so important to let yourself have free time too. So schedule free time for yourself.
For sure. So I did bring it up, so I'm testing you guys. Does anyone know who to contact if you're not 100% sure about how to time manage, or to make sure that you're not procrastinating and getting behind or anything like that? Does anyone know a name, or even just the department?
But the library front desk.
Yeah, Christine would be really good. Yeah, she'd be a good point of contact. Does anyone?
Karen Harris?
Karen Harris is correct. Yeah. So you did better than the morning session. They got the commons, so that was good. So essentially, yeah. So the commons in general can be a great point of contact. And just like Evan said, Christine at the front desk would be a perfect person to ask who to contact or how to get in touch with those people. What were you not prepared for and wish you had known before attending?
I wish I knew my schedule inside and out properly, and like all that, and rehearsed it and figured out how to plan my day accordingly before we started, because the first 2 weeks it was pretty tough.
But you did have your timetable, correct?
I did have my timetable.
Okay, you should have emailed and asked for it. Okay, yeah. Okay, anyone else?
Done more with the information from D2. I'm assuming you guys are going to use D2L again next year.
Yeah.
You guys are keep the same,
here to stay, I
same
think. Yeah.
system. Like, keep track of, what classes are going to use Microsoft Teams and what classes are going to use the virtual classroom. And, if you can make a live lecture instead of watching a pre-recorded one, do it.
Anyone else? Something that you've known before your first year?
It was so long ago, I don't have anything for you guys.
It's not that long, Jaden. I'm further back than you.
That's fair.
One thing that I would say, I don't think it has anything to do with Lakeland specifically necessarily, but just your first year of college in general is like, to me, I feel high school does not properly prepare you for the science labs. Like, if your high school is anything like mine, our science labs were like heating up a Bunsen burner and like watching a baking soda reaction, like that kind of thing. Like the lab reports and all those assignments like are really difficult in my opinion the first year, and you'll get the hang of it and just make sure you're asking for help. But that was like the thing I felt like the least prepared for.
Yeah, sure. The labs were pretty different.
Oh, I do have something. This wasn't like me specific, but I remember going into like my first year English exam and people just being so caught off guard that you had to write like 2 essays without like a computer or a dictionary or whatever. And like that wasn't like my high school, but I know that like lots of people's is like you have 3 hours to write 1 essay with the internet or something. Like it was just like really easy compared to like the final that is here. So I guess I would just say like prepare yourself for like having to do a lot more with your brain than with like your computer, learn how to spell that word, I guess.
Yeah, so in previous years, obviously, yeah, you did by hand and all that kind of stuff. I mean, research papers and all that, but there are those essays that are required for final exams or midterms where, yeah, you don't have a computer in front of you, unfortunately. So yeah, great. Anyone else want to add into that one, or should we go to the next question?
I guess the only other thing I would say would be like just final exams in general, like the stress lining up outside the gym before your exam. Like we never wrote any of our exams, well, not very many of them in the gym at Holy. So that was like a very different experience. And I guess just prepare yourself that like that will be stressful, but like take a deep breath and you'll be fine. But those are very different, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So it'll be definitely, my first years probably haven't failed a class yet, I hope. But has anyone maybe failed a test or even just not done super well? And so like that can definitely apply to my first years. Maybe that first midterm or that first assignment just wasn't the mark that you were hoping for.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was expecting my marks to drop. So I saw it coming. So just got to prepare for that. Don't be surprised if you're not getting what you used to be getting, but you can get back up there.
Okay, perfect. So essentially, yeah, exactly. Like that jump from grade 12 to college, and I know we are college, but these are university level classes. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to keep our transfer agreements, right? So you do need to kind of realize that there is that jump. And I mean, I know my grades definitely weren't as good when I first got to the college. You're away from home. You've got some other distractions. You're meeting new people, all those kinds of things. And so I probably wasn't attending class as much as I probably should have. But the thing about here at Lakeland is, yes, some professors don't take attendance, but some do, or some don't seem to take attendance, but they actually do notice when you're not there. So you can get called out for not attending and doing those kinds of things. So that's kind of that bonus of that smaller feel campus.
I would say that works to your advantage too, though. Like if you do poorly on something, like don't be afraid to go and ask like for help or like see what you did wrong. Like they're always willing to like meet with you in their office hours and like go through something, which is like you don't get that at a lot of other places, I don't think.
Yeah, it was a lot more like, I mean, again, it's a little bit different this year, but generally there's a lot of buzz down the UT hallway. Essentially, if a professor is in their office, that's an office hour. So there wasn't really anything set. So yeah, if they were in their office, go in and bug them and ask them some questions and get some extra help, all those kinds of things. Now it's just a little bit different. You just got to reach out through email and stuff like that. So it's a little bit harder to sometimes know when they are not available. But for the most part, they're fairly good at answering emails and getting back and chatting, whether it's through D2L or through Teams or anything else that you want to add to any of our questions? Anything that we didn't talk about? Anything you feel like you missed? Do any of my guests have any questions, whether it's UT related or college related, or if you have a question for one of my current students, you can put your hand up and chat, or you're more than welcome to type your question in as well. I'm thinking we are good. I'll do a little ending anyway, and then so if you are typing or whatever, we'll answer that. But essentially, this is more general. So if you were wanting some more specifics about any of the courses or about a certain route or anything like that, please either send an email to University Transfer or, and I'll type that in while I'm thinking about it, or send in or book in an appointment for tomorrow using the link that I will also post in. And so Jackie, our dean, is asking you guys a question. So we all realize that the restrictions due to COVID have been a bummer, but can you share your story of a silver lining or advantage?
Well, when you go through your lecture in a class, a lot of the times your professor will put the PowerPoint presentation that he used on D2L, and you can go back and look through it, or you can always go back and rewatch the lectures if there's something you don't remember. And I also found that a lot of my midterms were open book, but no, that was pretty nice too.
Anyone else?
I guess a silver lining is just like the convenience of being able to stay in your own home. Like I found that I've been able to balance like work and school a lot easier just with either having those pre-recorded lectures that you could watch on your own time or just like not being in a rush to get to the college. I guess that's been a positive.
I've been lucky enough to still get to go to the college just with like practices and stuff, and I think that like that's made me appreciate being there a lot more, you know, like when you do get to be there, it's like, oh, like I feel bad for you guys that you don't get to be there all the time, you know, like that. It is a special place when you don't get to be there when you want to.
For sure. I think even just, I've even said this, like a lot of times students would just stop in my office and, you know, I'm busy doing something and I mean, obviously I always want to be accessible to students if they have questions, but there were days where it was like never ending and I didn't get through my list of things to do, but now I miss it. I'm like, okay, students need to come bother me when I'm on campus. Like I miss that because yeah, it's exactly, it was in the moment you just didn't realize what you were essentially missing. Or how good that actually really was in the moment. So great point, Jaden. Anything else?
The residence deal is pretty sweet now.
Just only 4 of you mean?
I only have 2 roommates.
Oh, you only have 2. So there's 3 of you total.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
It's quiet outside. I hardly ever. I mean, the only problem is that, my only complaint is the lights. Like, that's it. The street lamps. That's about it.
They're too bright?
Oh yeah, it shines right in my room, but that's okay. That's my biggest problem. I'm okay with it.
Awesome. Anything else? Okay, so I have the email. Hopefully I spelled university right. In the chat, as well as the link to book if you have any questions. Otherwise, I thank my current students for sharing their input. That was awesome. And you guys are free for the rest of the day. And then, unless you have class. And otherwise, thanks for coming. And I will be doing another panel session tomorrow. It'll be much of the same, just a few different faces that you will see. And one-on-one appointments all day tomorrow. And lots of other open house events happening virtually. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Thank you.
See you.
See you.